Chapter 9, Gangnam Station 5. Hansu, who had entered the third floor, nodded at the light in the distance. A corridor that stretched far. In the space their darkness was best suited for, a stationary train made hissing sounds as it shone its lights in the distance. And because of that, Hansu didn't need to search in order to find out what lived in this place. There was a snake that shined silver in front of the train, sleeping in a curled-up position. Barb's snake. Being soft and squishy, its main diet was normal animals, but it also ate deuterium metals as a secondary source of food. The deuterium metal that is digested within its stomach gets fused with the special liquid released inside its body and gets excreted between the scales. And this mixture dries in the air to cover the scales on its body. This guy is pretty fast. The slippery and hard scales combined with its speed makes it hard to catch. Hansu looked at his padao that had its edge almost dulled out. It was a good padao out of the ones that came out of goblins, and that was the reason why it survived until now, but it was quite lacking to go against those. It might be a little hard with this. Paralysis poison is only effective if the blade gets through. The weight and hardness are important, but first you need a sharp edge. Tai-soon, who had a kitchen knife on his waist, backed off after seeing Hansu's look, along with Sang-jin, who also had them. Hansu clicked his tongue as he watched Tai-soon and Sang-jin. These guys need to go through some more socialization process. Try giving them to me. One isn't enough. They will likely break during the fight. At Hansu's words, Sang-jin looked at him with a slightly dissatisfied expression. You have yours. At those words, Hansu looked at Sang-jin with an amused look. It seems like this guy has the same idea. Hansu looked at Sang-jin and Tai-soon and spoke. Are you guys trying to fight that? If they were to fight, he had no intention of asking them for their knives. He wasn't in a hurry, and there were probably a few left in the convenience store. He could just go back and get some. But unexpectedly they wanted to fight, even though he thought that they would say they wouldn't want to. At that moment, Hansu looked at what they could see and knew what these three were thinking. Are they looking down on that thing? The barb snake was not really a large snake. Its length was only about 3 meters. The length was long, but its body was smaller than the land mermaid. The land mermaid's length was about 2 meters, but it had a lower body that resembled a grub, and these looked more agile. From a point of view, they don't really look formidable. But you can't assume things like that. This guy was more dangerous than all of the land mermaids above combined. Hard scales and fast speed. Along with the strong muscles that can crush the land mermaid, as well as sharp fangs and grip strength that do not fit snakes. The barb snake was a predator that chewed upon land mermaids. And it was also smart, so it went for the weaker ones first. If these guys were to attack, then they would get murdered. It won't be a case where they will cry after getting hit once, then absorb their gathered runes. Instead, their limbs will fall off. How do I handle these guys? There should be a different situation where you should have greed for runes. He had seen these types a lot. Something that always happened during group hunts. They will forcibly join the hunt and try to receive some of the distributed goods. S was really good at persuading. But he wasn't really interested in persuasion. It was annoying too. Normally S would persuade, Chaldean would threaten and control them with carrots and whips. If a negotiation failed to bloom, then Kantai would walk out to force them off. And if that failed to clean things up, he went out. There was no need to see blood for these. Fun was fun and work was work. He was annoyed with dealing with kids that were a fourth of his age, so he gave them 2 options. I will give you options. First, I will get out and you fight them yourselves. Second, you guys get out and watch me fight alone. How do you want to do it? Tai-soon got angry at the suddenly different attitude from Hansu. This bitch, we were hunting well together so far, but why is he suddenly like this? What his psychic powers were couldn't be grasped by him, but his reaction told him that what the snakes dropped was rather good. If they fought together and shared the drops, it would be good, but why did he need to get greedy to the point of excluding them? When Tai-soon was about to say something, somebody quickly made their decision and spoke. I'll get out. What? The one who had made the decision was not Mihi but Sang-jin. Tai-soon, who had been looking at Saeng with a flustered expression, scowled as he spoke. Hey! He's being petty and leave us friends out to eat them all by himself. Friend. It's a good word. He didn't decide to bicker over it, although his idea was that good things were shared together and hardships were gone through together, but it seemed like Taesoon was using it in a slightly different way. I told you to follow me. I never said I was going to take you. At those words, Taesoon looked at Hansu with a dissatisfied expression. And Mihi, who had been listening, spoke as she nodded. Let's stop. If Hansu is talking like that, then it means it's really dangerous. If he wanted to take everything, then he would have beaten them down, then taken all the runes. Even when Taesoon was in danger after he got shot by the paralysis poison from the land mermaids, Hansu didn't talk like that. From the way Hansu was acting right now meant that those scrubby-looking snakes were actually very dangerous. No, since there was only one monster on the whole third floor, there was no way that thing was not strong. They had forgotten that for a moment due to greed. Taesoon, who had started to come to his senses, calmed down, then started to take out the knives by in waist while clenching his teeth. 6 of them. Hansu started to apply the poison from the land mermaid on the edge of the kitchen knives from Taesoon and Saeng. Though that thing ate land mermaids, it was only because it was all digested within its stomach that could even digest deuterium. The land mermaid's poison, which was almost like a neurotoxin, had to get into its muscles to work. Hansu, who had numerous knives dangling from his waist, spoke as he looked at the 3. Hunt the land mermaids above. Hunting should be done constantly. Taesoon looked at that Hansu and answered expressionlessly. Didn't you bring us along to take us all the way? Taesoon grinded his teeth because he felt like they were used. Hansu smirked at those words. How did I not remember these amusing friends? He remembered clearly that they followed him in here, but it had changed to him bringing them here. You should really be lucky that Keldian didn't come here. Ah, Keldian didn't start here anyway. Hansu thought of Keldian, who was probably wandering around the purple region, and laughed. If it was Keldian, he would have made everyone above fall into a trap and take all there, then started. And because of that he was pushed out of returning here. He's always progressing forward, but the results aren't the best. Hansu looked at Taesoon and spoke as he thought of Keldian. Go stay above. If you aren't lucky, then your eardrums will pop. And then Hansu charged at the barbed snake. Keek! And then a frightening scream was heard, and the 3 who had been going back up realized at once why Hansu told them to stay out. Kayak! The barbed snake's whole body squirmed as it expanded out, then compressed in an instant. And the air that was expanded and compressed exploded out of the barbed snake's mouth with an incredible speed. Pang! An attack that had slight amounts of magic. The power wasn't that great, but it was a shockwave that had an impact that shook the opponent's balance by destroying their eardrums and cochlea. Yuck! The body of the 3, who had been standing by the stairs, swayed for a moment by the impact force that rang throughout the 3rd floor. But Hansu already expected that attack after seeing its stomach and neck area. Good. The impact came through the hands that had been covering the ears. But the magic resistance came into play and reduced the damage. Hansu, who had succeeded in not losing his balance, quickly moved his hands from his ears and quickly attacked its momentarily defenseless body. To be precise, the scales were hard, but in between the scales there had to exist a gap from which the melted deuterium mixture came out. The knife with paralysis poison applied to it went in between the scales. Kayak! Good. 3 have been inserted. There were 5 major spinal nerves throughout its body that controlled its body. Hansu, who had touched the nerve after getting between the scales and its ribs, quickly backed off. Kayak! The barbed snake, who was decorated with 3 knives within its body, twisted its body while making clattering sounds with its scales as if its body was harder to move than before. As expected, poison is the best in the beginning. The beasts and clans in the later stages had incredible amounts of resistance and regeneration, so most poisons basically had no effect on them. And if they also use skills, it gets even harder. But poison was one of the extremely effective methods against the monsters in the beginning whose body were smaller and had less resistance. Even him, if he didn't have the paralysis poison, would have struggled a lot. Well, it's easy now. He was bitten on his arm when he first inserted the knife, but due to him raising his vitality, the wound would heal. Hansu charged again to insert 2 more knives into its body, then finished it off by stabbing deeply within the roof of its mouth with the last remaining knife. Hansu made a weird sound as he looked at the skill rune dropped by it. The skill rune which shone next to a few stat runes. Barb Snake's shockwave. To use this thing he needed mana, so he couldn't use it yet. But in the case where he gained a mana rune during the tutorial, it would be an effective tactic in the beginning. Well, the visualization of it coming out of the body was not great, but as long as it was effective. As I expected. Due to it being a rather strong mob, the rewards are. And the 3 who had been standing afar off slowly crawled up and spoke out after seeing the skill rune on the ground. Are you going to use this, Hansu? Tai soon mumbled with a jealous-filled expression while looking at Hansu. Because the already strong guy would get a skill rune, so now he would start flying around. Damn it. At those words Hansu shook his head. I'm not going to use it. He could only use 7, so why would he use something like that? What? Sangjin stood up and shouted. Then can I use this? If he wasn't going to sell it, didn't it mean he would give it to them? Tai soon scowled at Sangjin's shout and spoke. What would you do with it? It'd be better if I... What are you guys talking about? I'm going to sell it. Hey! I'm selling it. To the person who brings the most runes. If you buy it now, I will give a discount. 5%. Hansu shook the runes within his wrist and laughed. Can't we do an installment plan? If you guarantee it. Stand together. From his expression, if one person were to ditch, then the guarantees would have to sell all their gear to pay him back. The 3 made an expression as if they had chewed on crap.